What is up, everybody? Jas Takhar here again. Welcome back to the Lucky Titan. Today we're here with Jas Takhar, which this guy, man, ball of energy over here. First off, I get on the free call. He's like, bam, woke me up for the morning, which I'm excited about because I woke up a little bit grumpy and I feel great now. So I appreciate that, Jas. Stoked to have this guy on. I mean, this guy, they've done $2.1 billion in transactions in the real estate space. These guys have been doing some incredible stuff in really what you'll find out here pretty quick is all organically generated business, which is one of the reasons I wanted to bring him on here to discuss that. Whether you're in real estate or not, these tactics work. They work very well. So Jas, first off, say what's up to everybody and we'll hop in.
What's going on, everyone? And Josh, thank you. But I couldn't tell that you were in a grumpy mood, man. That big smile on your face. I mean, obviously, if someone's taking their dog for a walk or on a treadmill right now, they don't get to see that handsome face. And I'm not talking about myself right now. But thank you for having me. It's always cool to hear what people are saying about us. I don't know if that's kind of like a bio that my team gave or whatever, but it's just cool to like look back. You know, for me, it's been 17 years that we've been building this real estate company. Another company got born out of that real estate company, but it's just really cool to see what we've grown into right now. And for anybody who's listening or watching right now, it's to your point, Josh, it's been 99% all organic. I'm sure we ran a Facebook ad for some type of event just to test stuff, right, to see like what all the hoopla was about, kind of thing. And I'm definitely not here by any means to tell people that stuff doesn't work. I mean, there's companies who have built multi-billion / trillion-dollar companies off the backs of Facebook ad, Google ads, and all that. I just found that I wanted to really design a business that was working with people that liked us and trusted us. And when I mean trusted us, I mean not just like trusted us on a surface level, but trusted us so much that they would introduce us to their friends and family. And because that takes a lot, man. It takes a lot to even say to someone, hey, I went to a restaurant last night and it was a great restaurant. You should check it out. Hey, I watched this movie last night, the Serena Williams movie last night, and it's a good movie. Like, you're putting yourself out there. Do you know how much it takes to say, you got to work with my boy Tristan, who's an amazing real estate agent? That shit like really is putting yourself out there where you could get slapped in the face if that relationship doesn't work. And so when people do it in our community, it means so much to us. And the nice thing is it costs me this, like it's zero, you know, like it doesn't, that word of mouth, that like, you know, it's belly to belly, right? Like you gotta get in touch with people. You gotta meet with people. And then if you take care of them, they will tell other people about you. And I just, you know, it's probably the best way for me to keep my profit margins high, because I'm not spending a lot of money on like those hard marketing costs, right? Like, you know, obviously I got cameras galore and all that kind of stuff, and we put on nice big events, but it's very focused for our clients.
Right. Which I love, because you've basically built this by being a good person, which is part of the part of what I was always telling people. I'm like, just stop trying to be a sleazeball. Just be a good person and people will be attracted to you, right?
Oh God. I mean, that resonates with me so much, buddy, because like I kind of knew at like 10, probably about 10 years, at the age of 10, sorry, that like I wasn't going to be someone who, and I'm sure my dad and mom knew as well, like I wasn't going to be someone who's going to get A's in school, and I, you know, my father probably realized he didn't need to save money for me to go to university or anything, because I wasn't going to make it, right? It's always been sales for me. I was the kid at 6 for sure, putting up my hand that I wanted to help with the bake sale and the book sale, and then 12 papers, selling newspapers, 14, 15, selling shoes. Then I went into the banking industry. Then I went into car sales, and then real estate for 17 years. And people ask now, like, dude, like, what's the science, man? Like, how do you get deals done? And how do you talk? And I'm like, just don't be an ass. Let's start at the most basic thing. Smile, Because like, look, you just smiled, and you, like, as the podcast host right now, you made me feel like, okay, what I'm saying, even if it's going like in your one out, in one ear and out the other, it's resonating a little bit. You're smiling, it's making me feel good. Fuck, your prospects feel the same way when you smile, right? And like, I had a massive studio that's under construction right now, and I had a big sign that said removing friction. And that was a reminder for myself and my team, like my core group of people, that our job is not to sell to people. Just make it as easy as possible for them to buy. How do you actually tactically do that? Give away all the information. Because if somebody can make a quality informed decision themselves, they're going to feel a lot better. And I'm saying, like, a prospect is going to, if you allow them to come to that decision on their own, but you were the one who was actually giving away all the information, I'm going to say 7 or 8 out of 10 times, they're going to come back and work with you, because you're the one who gave away the information. And the 2, 3, 4 people that don't, who cares? They're going to use their cousin Charlie or whatever it is. They were going to do that anyways. And you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You have the principles of plenty, where you just know that you're working with a lot of people. You're trying to attract as many people into your funnel as possible, and then let the chip fall where it may.
See, and you also mentioned something in there though, Jas, that like there's a major caveat to that methodology, right? People have to know who you are. And because ultimately, so guys, you all know this. Everybody listening to this, we're pretty loud. I'm annoying. I'm everywhere, right? And we intentionally do that, right? I literally got on a call with a guy yesterday who knows me. We've done business together on other things. And he's like, Josh, I don't even know what you do. And I remember being like, I have failed. This is literally 2 hours ago. I was like, I have failed. So we're going to go and like revamp and like do a ton of new content. Cause I'm like, man, it's time to get out there. So, you've built a whole second company around this, which is one of the things I wanted to just commend you for, first off, because you built such a successful company, and you also found another need for real estate agents, right, who are looking to do what you've done. So I always appreciate that people give back on that sense. But when it comes to that media, how are you helping them get to be where people actually know who they are and trust them and whatnot?
Yeah, I think so. What happened exactly 4 years ago, in my real estate company, there was three partners in total, and I currently have one, because the one guy passed away very, very tragically, and he was like my older brother, really was my mentor as well, taught me everything I kind of know from a real estate perspective, and definitely some marketing stuff as well. But he was the face of the company. And so, like, he would be, we had a radio show back then when we were doing live events. It would be him on stage. He passes away tragically, and now there's this gaping hole in our business. Like, who's going to be the one who's going to get comfortable with not only speaking with clients on the phone? That's like my niche. I can do that. I'm not, my father couldn't speak English really well. So when we would go to McDonald's, for me to get a McChicken, and you can tell I like McChickens, but like, I had to go order it. You know what I mean? And so I was always comfortable at a young age on the phone and talking to people. But man, the lens scared the shit out of me. I just didn't like that lens. I didn't know what it was. I just wasn't comfortable with it. But at that time, it was either, sink or swim. And humans are cool like that, I think, right? Like when your back is up against the wall, it's, I'm not just trying to throw up a bunch of sayings out there, but fight or flight. And I decided that I was going to fight, but I did it with a crutch. And what I did is, luckily, I heard a word called podcast. And I was like, what the heck is podcast? This is 4 years ago, right? Like, I think maybe 10% of North America even knew what a podcast was, that had like and I use that stat because I think only like 10% of people actually had some type of app on their phone, right? We're now, check the stats, it's probably like 77, 78% or something like that. But I said, okay, cool, let me Google this. And I was like, oh, you get to talk into a mic? And the real way for people to consume that content is like while they're driving, taking their dog for a walk, walking on the treadmill, and they don't need to see me. This is all like, I'm going to do this. On top of everything, being of East Indian descent, my mom negotiates over apples back home. Like, it was free. And I was like, shit, this is awesome. I'm doing this. I got a mic, bought a mic, and just started talking about real estate investing, and just literally like telling stories. And then I got an interview with a guy named Ryan Serhant from a show $1 Million Listing New York. Some of you guys and gals might know him. Just really is doing some big things in New York. And the team was like, Jas, you can't go to New York, sit down with this guy and not put it on camera. And I was like, for real? I was like, okay. Like, I'm not talking to the camera though, guys. Like, I don't mind having it on. I did that. But then what happened is, as I brought that footage back to my team, they started cutting it up, like cutting up the video in little slices. It was a 35-minute conversation. It's on YouTube. You can find it. And what they also did is rip out the audio, put it out on podcast platforms. Then we took the audio and put that into a transcription service a software that transcribes everything for you in the written word. But then what happened is I realized, oh man, I really need to do this camera stuff. Like, I really need to get over whatever the obstacle is because I can do so much if I record these conversations. And that's when I started to get really obsessed with repurposing content. So for anybody who's listening right now, if Josh is kind enough to give me the recording of this, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this conversation into about call it 20 to 22 pieces of content. So I have a system now that allows me to do a conversation once a day. If I want to do it 3 times a day, I can, but at least once a day, I like to do my own podcast or be on someone else's or do a webinar. I can now use the magic of repurposing. So it's not going to take that much more time for me, which allows me then to what you said earlier, Josh, to like, you're all over the place. How nice is that when people say to you, dude, I can't get away from you. You're everywhere. As a marketer, as a business person, entrepreneur, as a salesperson, that's all you want to hear because it's better than being nowhere. And real estate agents are so known for this. They're such secret agents. Like, they're playing 007 shit. Like, that's not the time to do it. Like, you need to yell from the rooftops that you're a real estate agent, right? Let people know. And so content and cutting up all those pieces allowed me to be on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, iTunes, Spotify, all over the place. And then I allowed people to consume me the way that they wanted to consume. Some people want to only read. Great. Go to medium.com. You can check my blog out. Go to my website. You can check my blog out, all that kind of stuff. And all I had, it didn't take extra time for me. And then what happened is that real estate agents in my city started to say, dude, this is awesome. Like, I can't get away from you. And I like that what you're doing is educational. And we'll talk about how you can do it in a very tasteful and tactful way. But they wanted the help. They wanted the help for actually producing content. And I gave away a 39-page guide that explained from A to Z, Josh, how to do everything I was doing. Didn't charge a penny for it. I checked back 3 months, 4 months later. They're like, we don't know who to hire. I'm like, okay, here's a list of people that you need to hire. This is how much I pay them. And then 2 months later, no, I didn't have the time. Can you just do it for me? And having that little entrepreneurial bug in me, I said, there is a need here. I'm going to start helping them do it. And so what we actually do, my long-winded answer to your question is, and how do we help? I believe fundamentally, the company's name is called From the Ground Up. And so, like, to do this right, you need to be able to get on a recording for 30 minutes once every other week, so twice a month. Record a conversation that you're having with someone in your industry, or if you're very comfortable, do it by yourself. But it's a lot easier to be a host. You can tell who's doing the heavy lifting in today's, and that's not a knock on Josh, but like, he's the host. He asks some questions. I do the heavy lifting of it. So now imagine, imagine you doing that if you're listening or watching right now, where you are an insurance broker, you are the head of a mortgage company, where you bring on guys and gals that are experts in your industry, real clients, and not like that testimonial stuff. Josh was the best mortgage broker I have, not that stuff. Like, actually them, like, you asking them questions about the process, right? Like, because it's easier for somebody who's watching to relate to an average Joe than like some of my guests, like, and not to drop names, but they're huge names. They're not even the most watched and most listened to. It's the real people, because the average person connects with another average person. And so how we help is help people put together a 30-minute webinar once every other week or once a month, just to get like the juices flowing. And then we cut up pieces of content for them that they can repurpose and send to their client base. And that, this is not to become YouTube stars and TikTok stars and influencers. Like, you want to do that, that's great. What we're building is not that. It's like, you have to send something to your database, your client list, that is educational. Because if you're not doing it in whatever business you are, someone is. And so why wouldn't you want to be the person that's in front of them?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm glad you guys are doing that. I mean, ultimately, because like that's what we've been doing for years, right? Is repurposing podcasts. That's what we do. And I'm so glad you guys are doing this real estate niche, because that's not our ideal customer, right? It's not who we work with. The cool thing about this is why somebody told me like, hey, you guys have competing businesses. I'm like, that's fine. Because ultimately, I'm like, I want to send every real estate agent your way, because I'm like, everybody needs to be doing that. And I 100% concur with you when it comes to repurposing the content. It's not about becoming a YouTube star. And we fight people on that all the time. Oh, but I want 1 million followers on YouTube. You're like, why? What are you going to get from that? You know?
Because and Josh, look, sorry to cut you off, like really quickly.
Okay.
Like when people say I want 1 million followers somewhere, do you know how much work that is to actually get there? You think you want it, because chances are you're not going to put the work in.
Right.
Like, you know, like I'm not into hustle porn and that kind of stuff. Like, you need to work 24 hours a day, but damn, you bet, like, you want that kind of results. Your ambition, like your actual work ethic, better match your mouth, because I can tell you, to get that type of community built, you're at it every single day. Like, you got to be Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant obsessed to get to that kind of level. And I can tell you, most people wouldn't put in the work, and you don't need to. You got to put out some videos, like you got to put out some podcasts. You got to put out some content. That's not like the salesy stuff. And I know, Josh, like some way, somehow you and I are going to do business, because like, I just feel that like that chemistry with you right now. And I know something's going to happen. I just don't know when. And, you know, you spoke about competition and stuff like that. At the end of the day, like, for me, the word of 2021 for us was collaboration over competition, because the pie is big enough, man. We can all eat. Like, in the GTA, there's 6.6, Greater Toronto area, there's 6.6 million people. Believe me, I want to get to them all. I really do. I have that type of ambition, and I do think I'm that obsessed. The truth is, I'm just not going to get to all of them.
Right.
You know, and so let my boy Luke eat, let my boy Ali eat, let my girl Laura eat, like let everyone else eat as well. Because when you're actually doing it together, A, it's a lot more fun, but B, the universe will reward you with more positivity. And I'm not trying to get all philosophical here, but if you put out positive vibrations, you get onto that frequency, and then the only thing that starts to happen is that you get positivity back. And so the competition stuff, I'm just glad that you said, screw this, I'm getting Jas on and we're going to do our thing, because otherwise we wouldn't have connected, right? It's just another example of that.
Well, and I appreciate that thought, because I'm in that same boat. I had somebody just the other day, somebody who was pretty much rated by our services. I told her not to, because she didn't need everything we needed. And I sent her directly over to one of our competitors. And people look at that and go, man, what a waste. Like, you missed out on a sales opportunity and everything. And I'm like, man, just watch. It comes back around. As you said, it's whether you believe in karma, God, whatever you believe in, it always comes back around. And I think you and I spoke about it for like, 4.2 seconds offline before the recording, which was in my business, in the real estate business, how we started to really make a name for ourselves is when we wrote a book. And in that book, like, we don't sell the book. It's like my business card. I don't even have a business card. I give away this book. It's, I don't know, 150 pages or something like that. And it's for buyers, sellers, and investors. And we taught sellers, specifically sellers, and there's some aspects of the buying and the investment section, but specifically sellers, how to sell their own home. And real estate agents in our office and in and around Toronto lost their lid. They're like, dude, you're giving away all our secrets. I'm like, no, I'm not. They can find this shit on YouTube, bro. Like, I'm not giving away anything. And then people closer to me, though, were like, doesn't make sense, Jas. They're not going to use you to sell your house. I'm like, yes, they will. Because most people will never do anything on their own.
And for the 2%, let them. That's great. Who cares? You know what I mean?
You're still going to evangelize your name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At least they're saying my name. That's a good point. But what started to happen is that book started to get passed around, and then the name just started to get passed around. Like, oh my God, these guys are really teaching. Like, they're really, really teaching. And so I think there's just so much to what you said when you spoke about karma, because it will come around. It just takes time.
Right. And putting those feelers out there. And one of the things, and like you said, you just kind of teased it there, but like giving your stuff away for free. People beat me over the head of this all the time. Why do you do that? Because nothing is a secret in today's world. Every piece of information you could possibly want is out there right now. You can literally, there is a roadmap. There's 1,000 roadmaps to $1 billion on the internet right now for free that you can get to, but you're not going to do it because you won't do it. You're lazy. That's the truth of it.
And it really hit me. And I was talking about I have a different business partner in my media company. And luckily we're kind of cut from the same cloth in that sense, because like, she was like, yes, Jas, we're going to tell everybody about how to actually produce content. I knew it from the real estate side, like the whole teaching people how to sell. There probably was maybe a little part of me was like, okay, I'm going to teach people how to do video. They're in my office. That part never bothered me because I do believe that the pie is big enough. But I did think that the real estate agents would do this part by themselves. I thought they would hold hold a camera, just their iPhones, and do their thing. To your point, brother, wow, did I ever find out, like, by giving away all the information, I gave it all away, and more business came.
Yeah.
Because then I think for a couple of reasons. One, they just maybe got overwhelmed by the equipment and stuff like that, but it just, something scared them. And they really started to reach out to us the more and more we started to tell them, like, guys, this is like, we do screenshots of how to upload a video on TikTok, and they just don't do it by themselves. They just don't want to do it. They want the help of someone else.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately what you'll find, especially selling high ticket sales, and I know you know this from firsthand experience, is that your ideal customer has money, they don't have time. And so give them something that looks like this is the truth. This is exactly what we do. This is exactly how you can do it. Here's my SOPs. Take everything, go try it. They're not going to do it because they're going to look at you and say, you obviously know what you're doing because it's organized, and they will hire you. It's a brilliant methodology. That's why I was glad that you're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like we go real heavy with that, man. I mean, from the real estate side and the media side, I don't think there's any time we have like a brainstorming session and we even, for example, here, let me tell you something. Like net new, I'm coming out with an OTT. Okay. Like my own OTT, it's going to be all around my own personal brand. Okay. Still thinking of a name, World of Jas. I'm not sure yet. Like we're going to be playing around right now. And OTTs, like the Netflixes and the Hulus and the Amazons and all that kind of stuff, is really known for subscriptions, like paid subscriptions, $7.99, $12.99, and all that kind of stuff. So the developers that are helping us build it, they're like, okay, guys, here's where you go to select how much you're going to charge. What are you guys thinking of? And I was like, 0. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, I'm not charging for any of this. They're like, why are you doing this? This is why it's not the biggest, it's the second biggest company that helps people build out OTTs. But I had meetings with like the top 5 just to see which one I was going to use. I went with the second guys, and they're like, this doesn't make sense what you're doing. And I'm like, yes, it does, because A, I want to be ahead of the curve. B, I don't want to charge for any of this, because the longer I know I hold my breath in terms of monetizing, the bigger and the deeper community that I'm going to build. And then when I release something in 3 years from now, 7 years from now, I actually have the credibility and the leverage of giving a lot, which then gives me the audacity to ask. You know what I mean? Like $4.99 a month from even 1 million people. That's a lot. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of money. But I want to do that for 10 million people for $9.99 10 years from now. And so holding my breath that long, I'm giving away all the content. I have a full team who's going to be producing all that's going to cost me money. And I'm going to be teaching real estate agents and investors how to do things on their own and give them other tips and tactics, but I'm not charging them for it, knowing that A, they're not going to ever use it. Like, they're not going to do it. The 0.1% of, some people might actually do something with it, but the longer that I hold off, the bigger monetization that I can do later on in my life. Like, I might drop a book for 1999. If I actually have my community that's been bought in, they're gonna say yes to that. I'm almost gonna, and I'm not afraid to say it, I think I'm almost gonna guilt people to buy the book for 1999, because they're gonna look back and say, this guy's been giving me free shit for 17 years, 10 years, 5 years. You know what I mean? And so that's the path that I'm taking, man.
Yeah. And it works. And I think we'll see more and more companies will be doing that too, because we've been seeing it's the delayed gratification of a business. And you can't do it as a first business in most cases, because you're like, oh, I've got to pay the bills, right? But that's why I love working with people like you guys and seeing that you're making those efforts now, because long-term dividends are going to be huge, billions of dollars.
So true.
So, we've covered a lot in here, Jas, and I appreciate you bringing so much fire and so much value to the podcast today. But can you give us one final parting piece of guidance just to wrap the show up?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go. I always like these questions, because every time whatever's kind of hot in my mind is the answer that I give. And for me, it's about an acronym SCYTO, which is SCYTO, which is stop comparing yourself to others. Because what you eat today is not going to make me go to the washroom. And so you will take up so much bandwidth in here when you're thinking about what other people have more of than you, and that negative vibration that you're putting out. And sometimes it's jealousy, sometimes it's resentment, sometimes it's just, oh my God, guilt. Maybe it's guilt that I can't do what Parsa's doing because he's so X and Y. But that, all those words I used are negative. And so you're just going to get that negativity back. Spend that bandwidth. Every minute that you spend on someone else's successes and even failures and have those feelings of negativity is time you're taking away from real execution on what you actually want that will bring you happiness. So for me, buddy, it's stop comparing yourself to others and just focus on what you can control. And that's what you do with the hours that you're awake.